This past Tuesday on June 23rd, a brush fire broke out in Desert Hills next to Anthem, which grew to 1,000 acres and destroyed one home. It probably would have burned a lot more homes if it weren't for the swift action of the Forest Service and their aerial tankers of all sizes that came in and attacked the fire. Once I got the alert on my phone that there was a fire in Desert Hills, I decided to take a closer look. And I was surprised that I was not challenged by any law enforcement or firefighters as I made my way closer to the fire. Here the fire is burning just on one side of the street next to the houses. There are no firemen in sight, but the fire is still burning. The trees and the ground is still hot.
It's hot.
Then I came across an area where it was burning very close to houses, and it looks like it's burning a Volkswagen back there. Little patches of fire where embers would light the ground on fire, and it would spread because there was a pretty strong wind. You can see the driveway there is burning. I came up to this neighborhood and before the firemen even arrived, and then they pulled up soon after I started filming, and I doused the brush fire here with a little bit of water, then moved their truck down the road closer to the houses to fight the fire down there. It was really disorientating trying to ride around the area because the fire was spread out into a large area from Carefree Highway to Desert Hills Road, and it was so smoky, my eyes were burning, and I couldn't tell which way to go to get away from the fire once I got into that area. And a lot of the roads are dead-end roads, but I eventually found a way. But there's been a rash of fires, like 3 of them this month. There was one here up on the mountains over last weekend, just a couple days before the other Aguila Fire. This one burned several hundred acres of the hillsides at Tonto National Forest. I was unable to fly my drone over much of the areas once the fire started because they instituted a no-fly zone, and my drone would not even take off from our house. But this area up in the mountains was still open, and you can see there's still a smoldering ground hotspot right there next to the upper left-hand corner. I wondered if that was going to later break out into another fire. They used liberal amounts of the fire retardant. As you can see, there's all the hills around here got big pink streaks going across them. DC-10 planes converted to firefighters, to MD-80s, some 4-engine smaller jets. I saw single-engine propeller planes, helicopters with snorkels hanging off of them. And they would set up like a swimming pool, a portable swimming pool on the side of the road full of water next to a hydrant, and then the helicopters would load up their water and then make trips back and forth to fight the fire. They don't know the cause of these fires for sure, but the last big one, it's suspected that there were multiple starting points of the fire and that they were started by humans. This is from the weekend fire, the day after it burned, and I rode my motorcycle up here past a deer, trying to hightail it out of there, going away from the fire. running by itself, and also saw a coyote and a lot of rabbits. But the birds didn't seem to be leaving. They were still doing their morning singing. There's a lot of the fire was on the ground was spread quickly by this invasive plant called stinkweed that is really flammable and has only been around here for a couple of years, but it covers large areas of the desert, and it looks like was the first thing to burn. Hopefully, the fire maybe got rid of the stinkweed in areas, but wasn't able to burn hot enough to kill the swallows. But we'll see. They got a little bit charred. The most eerie thing about the fire was returning to the area at nighttime. We took our dog for a walk and walked down past the field that had been where the fire had swept through earlier in the day, and there was still at 11 at night there was tree trunks on fire and flames, and just little small fires burning all over the place, and there was no firefighters, no people. It was just like a weird landscape. This is shot with a 500 millimeter lens, so that's why it's so shaky. Because I was looking, saw that there was fire several miles away up on this peak there. So both these fires were really spread out, and it became several small isolated fires over time. The only time a fireman walked up to me when I thought he was going to scold me for not obeying the evacuation orders, instead all he wanted to know was what type of motorcycle I was riding and how fast does it go. And he thought it was cool that it was electric. I was relieved that didn't care that I was filming him.